so glad you're here. How are you? Because you look amazing, but I know you've had a really tricky last few years.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm feeling good. Today is a good day.
How did you find out? How did it all begin?
So, as you know, I had breast cancer. I was diagnosed when I was 35. I woke up one day, rolled over in bed, gave myself a hug, and felt like a weird little lump just near my armpit. And I knew it was new for me, so I was kind of a bit worried. I spoke to my mum, I spoke to my best friend. They said, well, what would you do if it was us? You'd tell us to go to the doctors. So I called the doctor. They were really fantastic. We were in the middle of the pandemic, so I was worried that one, they wouldn't see me or they wouldn't take me seriously. But they were really, really great, and they referred me to go and get it checked out, essentially.
Wow. How was that? Was that like scary for you?
At first, I wasn't scared because I didn't think I had breast cancer.
Yeah.
I was too young.
Yeah.
I'm too cool. I'm too black. I'm not going to get breast cancer. So I saw a consultant first.
Yeah.
He took a look at my chest. He made some pen marks on me.
I had one of those before.
Yeah, so you've had yourself checked before as well,
Yeah.
right? So you remember. So they made some pen marks on me. He then sent me for the ultrasound where I had to lay down on the bed. They put the gel on and then they kind of scanned up and down where the lump was, both sides of my chest, my underarm, my collarbone, and then they sent me for a mammogram.
That's the thing as well about the underarm, because a lot of people are, well, I say a lot of people, I'm talking about myself. I didn't realise that could be like connected, because that was probably, for me, one of the first things that I noticed like causing pain was my armpits, but I didn't realise it could be checked. So fast forward, when I went to get checked, I knew I was okay the same day.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you going, getting the clamp, advice, all of that to...
Yeah,
knowing.
It was a wait. So straight after I had the mammogram, they then also gave me a biopsy. They biopsied kind of my underarm, my lymph nodes, and then it was quite a wait. They say it's about 2 weeks. I think for me it was a little bit longer. And I'll be honest, that was a really terrifying time for me. I remember breaking down and crying a lot. I was a little bit traumatized from the whole experience because I went in there expecting them, like you, to kind of go, hey, everything's fine.
Yeah, because of your age and yeah.
Yeah, and then I left feeling that was not what I expected. That was not what I thought was going to happen. So all the way along, I knew that there was something that they weren't sure about, even if I didn't know it was cancer.
Did you take your mum or your bestie?
Dragged my bestie along.
Your bestie.
It was great. We made inappropriate jokes in the waiting room.
As you do.
As we do. And we sat there. We held hands. I got called into the room. The consultant was very factual. They told me that they'd found a small but aggressive, fast-growing type of cancer called triple negative breast cancer. Wow. Triple negative is scary because, again, it affects younger people, people of colour, people who are overweight. And I was ticking all of these boxes, obviously, in my youth.
I can't imagine like how you must have like felt, what was going through your mind when you like sat there and heard that.
I just remember thinking, am I going to die?
Yeah.
And you know, I've got a young child.
Yeah.
It's like, is my child going to grow up without her mum? So I was really, really scared. Me and my friend, we held hands. She asked questions for me, which I was really grateful for. I remember trying not to cry. I remember feeling like I was going to be sick. Like, I'm going to be sick.
Just the emotion, like everywhere.
And then at one point, all I could do was just let out this roar. And the poor people in the waiting rooms, because it was like a lion's roar, everything just bubbled up inside of me and I had to make a noise. I was terrified. I was really scared.
Wow. But look at you now.
I know. Here we are, 3 years later. So treatment was crazy.
Yeah.
I had chemotherapy. I had surgery to remove the lump and then all the lymph nodes, because it also spread to the lymph nodes under my armpit. Wow. So I had surgery to remove those lymph nodes, and then I had radiotherapy. I lost every single hair on my body, all of it, even my nose hairs. So that was a lot.
Are you better now?
I'm better. Well, okay. I'm not saying I'm not better. There were always risks. When you have your treatment, there are no guarantees that the treatment will work. When I went into that room, they told me they were aiming to cure me, which I didn't even think was a thing. I thought once you had cancer, that's it, you're going to die. But they told me they were looking to cure me. And as far as I'm aware, there is no evidence of the cancer in my body. So, yeah.
You know that day when you gave yourself that hug in bed? Had you been like in pain for a long time or like?
No. I didn't have any of the usual, well, not usual symptoms, the known symptoms such as the puckering or the
Yeah.
dimpling in the skin. I had no changes to my nipples. I had no discharge. And although pain is not generally a sign of cancer, some people do report having pain, and I didn't have any pain either. All I found was this small bean-sized lump.
Wow. We're so lucky that you had like your mum and your bestie to tell you to go, because I know that I have that old school black woman mentality of just get on with it, shut up and put up, life is hard, we're used to being uncomfortable, you've got bills to pay. So it's just such a godsend that you had those people to like push you and say, sort yourself out.
I mean, you've been through it as well. When you were going through your checks, how did you feel? Who supported you?
Well, when I found my lumps, I just ignored them for ages because I'm a lesbian, and like when we're doing our thing, it was uncomfortable to have like these boobs. Like it didn't feel like I was in my masculine energy, so I just avoided my boobs being touched.
Yeah.
And then when they were, noticing that there were lumps and there were pain, it was never something that I found out myself. It was always just, I'm making myself sound like a real stud here, but just like, the women that I was having my sexual experiences with, they would be the people who'd be like, oh, are you okay? Like that doesn't feel right. But it took me a long time to actually get to the point where I was like, I'm going to go. And when I did go, I went with my mom, who's like, you know what mums are like. She just had my back through the whole thing. I was so scared, like your friend. My mum asked all the questions. Because for like the longest time, I've been like quite masculine presenting. I played football for a long time. So when my boobs grew at puberty, I was like, get rid of these things. They are an eyesore and they're uncomfortable. But as soon as the doctor drew where the lumps were on my chest, I was like, no, you can't have these. These are mine, like you can't take that away from me. And so I was so relieved, and I felt so lucky that I went in, they drew, they did the cold gel thing, they did the clampy thing, and then like within half an hour they were like, you're okay, you need to go home. They gave me some recommendations of some like hormone replacement things that I could have, and I was just like, like the weight, that saying the weight of the world comes off your shoulders?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And I didn't even realise that I was carrying all of that for so long. And I just can't imagine what it would be like to feel that and then to have your experience. Like, I walked out of the hospital with my mum that day, went through, got a drive-through fast food and went home and had a good day.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine if I'd been you.
Yeah. And I think that's what you've picked up on there is kind of so important. Like we're so scared, and I don't know if it's a black thing, a brown thing, but we don't talk. I didn't know any black people who had breast cancer. I didn't know any.
Yeah, I don't.
And we didn't talk about checking ourselves. I didn't talk about it with my friends.
If I was going to check, how would I start? How do I know? What
Do you want a demo? Do you want a demo?
Babe. If you can.
Yeah, no, of course, because actually we do need to know, and you might think that you're giving yourself a quick little feel up and that's enough, but it's actually quite an extensive check. What I would say is start in front of a mirror, so your face on in front of that mirror, boobs out, chest out, and just have a really good look, because you might not find something ever, but that first time you look is all about knowing what you look like. Like you look at how often do we look at our faces? That's such an important
thing as well, especially like in my community when I talk to a lot of queer women, especially ones who are more masculine presenting. We don't want to look at our boobs.
No.
We especially don't want to take our tops off. Like I wear a sports bra every day. Like I just want minimal boobage at all times. So actually like confronting like our own body and being and looking at it and actually knowing what's your normal. What do my boobs actually look like when they're on a good day? Like when they're on an okay, when they're healthy. So that I think that's like that for me, even in itself, like the first step is like a barrier that I have to like.
And you can do that first step for weeks, months, every day. Just look in the mirror, just look at your chest, see how it's hanging today.
How's it hanging?
How it hanging? How they swinging? Once you've kind of got that idea, And another really good way to do this is do it in the shower as well. So start in the bathroom, look at your chest in the mirror, see how it looks. You're looking for any changes around the nipple and the areola, any discharge, any bleeding, anything. You don't want to squeeze the nipple and then something comes out. But if there's like, hang on, these look a bit crusty today.
Yeah.
You kind of want to know that. You want to make sure there's no dimpling, no swelling. Understand kind of if there are colour changes, any rashes, just really look at them. And then you want to start feeling. And the thing that most people do when they start checking their chest is they just kind of go,
so I just go like,
yeah.
like, it's good.
But have you even felt your whole chest when you've done that?
Probably not.
No. So you want to get kind of like the palm of your fingers, the flat of your fingers.
Yeah.
And start really, you can start inwards and start really going quite deep. Yeah.
A wave kind of.
Yeah. And you talked about, like we've talked about before, breast pain, right?
Yeah.
It can hurt. It can be uncomfortable. I have a lot of pain in my breasts after all my surgery and after all the treatment. So this is uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But I also know I need to get really deep in that tissue, especially if you're larger chested and you've got a lot of breast tissue. So you're going all the way around and working your way out. And then you're coming up, not just the breast tissue, but also our collarbones and under our arms. So we're having a good feel because your
Like
lymph
from here?
nodes, yeah, basically from the elbow.
Okay.
And you're feeling for any swellings, any lump, and then you're going right up into the armpit. And then finally we're going up to our collarbones because we also have lymph nodes up in our collarbones.
So around.
So we're getting in, we're getting underneath here. We're feeling all the way, all across our chest. Is there anything that feels a bit lumpy, a bit bumpy? And you might find a lump and you might find a bump. And then you go, okay, do you know what? I'm not going to check that. I'm not going to go to the doctors about that today. But when you check in a couple of weeks, that lump and that bump is still there. And you go, okay, maybe I'm not ready to go to the doctors yet. But if that is ever you, I just want you to keep an eye on it and be like, one day I'm going to go to the doctors about this. Sooner rather than later, because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
But if you're not ready, just know that it's there and know that you can get it checked at any particular time. Don't ignore it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I did. And like knowing you and knowing your story and knowing, you know, we're a similar age, it just really puts into perspective that it could be you.
Yeah.
So even if you think that it's not going to be, your body's important, your safety's important, your health's important, we're important. Black women, especially now in 2023, like we're supposed to be queens, we're supposed to feel good, we're supposed to be all about self-care and looking after ourselves and being our best self, and that can sometimes mean doing those things that aren't that comfortable.
And now I think we're in a really unique position where we can use our voices to talk to our friends, to talk to our family and say, hey, have you checked your chest recently? Do you know what your breasts look like? Because I don't want you to be in a situation where you don't know what you're looking for. So when it does come, it's even more scary because we've never talked about it.
Yeah, you're so right. And like even just as women of colour, as black women, the diaspora, like our shades are different, our tones are different, our areola and our nipple sizes are different. We need to really care about what's happening with our bodies. We need to know what we look like and we need to do that work. You're such a good egg.
So you, babe. So how do you feel now? If you were to find another lump, another bump tomorrow, what are you going to do?
Well, I'd go straight away because I feel like when I had my experience, you know, it wasn't the pandemic, so the hospitals were open as normal. I could take my mum with me. Like, I know people like you exist. There is so much more information out there now that I know that if there's something wrong, I can get the help that I need. Although it might be scary, it's going to be worth it because there are people like you who live to tell the tale. There are amazing doctors and nurses who will literally hold your hand through the whole process. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I learnt the most was that, like, even though I was like scared, like bravery is about being scared and doing it anyway. And it was like just gave me an opportunity to practice being brave. And I think that's really important when it comes to self-care because we're often being brave for everybody else.
Yes.
But being brave for yourself is something that's a little more tricky. So yeah, it's really helpful.
Self-care is not selfish.
Yay.
Yeah.
Tea cheers.
Tea cheers.
Tea cheers to that.